So it's a special day for the channel. I'm very pleased to be hosting our very first interview on here. And we have as our distinguished guest, Piotr Korolev from smart contract audit firm Oxorio, a firm whose notable clients include 1inch, Rarible, and Lido, whose staked ETH tokens are currently valued at the 7th largest market cap of all assets in our market. Appropriately enough, today we're going to be talking about smart contract security and the audit process. Something that's not my core area of expertise, but is one of these items that we absolutely have to understand and get right in order to make our blockchain tokens and our blockchain economy secure and free from vulnerable exploits. So, Piotr, thank you for your time and welcome. Please tell us more about Oxorio and your journey into the space.
Nice. So Oxorio is my third company. First, we did like some kind of tokenization things in era of ICO. Later, I invented with my founders from Matter Labs ZK Sync, and we work a lot on the scaling solutions based on zero knowledge proofs for Ethereum. And in the now, for last 2 years, I'm mostly focused on the smart contract audits. So in these 2 years, we built a really amazing team of 10 professional smart contract developers and auditors. So we have also researchers there, and we do like full spectrum of security services that Web3 apps needed. So we can do penetration testings, we can check for vulnerabilities in the infrastructure, and also we can check the code in smart contracts based on Ethereum mostly, but now also we start to work on other blockchains like Rust-based blockchains like Near and Polkadot and others. So here it is. So now we just enjoy the time. Currently it's like crypto winter. And it means that on the market, we can see only the most stable and reliable projects that can survive the crypto winter. And among of us, our partners is like Lido. I think everyone heard about Lido, the biggest staking protocol for Ethereum 2.0, and also 1inch. This is like the founders are my very good friends, and we know each other from many of hackathons that we participate together before. Yeah, so they are hugest DEX aggregator in the era. So in the I think in many blockchains, not the only Ethereum. Yeah, and now we are currently do a lot of research things. And sometimes I participate in grants from Ethereum Foundation or other foundations, like just to improve. And that's why I like this industry. So there are so many things that you can research and do something, some inventions and do new stuff that nobody did before. Especially to zero knowledge proofs and all these cryptography stuff like Moonmuff development.
That's awesome. Is there sort of like, are you able to share some of those research topics that you're into that maybe would not be too technical that most of our audience could understand?
Yeah, so we try to cover the full spectrum of topics. Like some of them we do like deep research, like technical talks. Mostly we discuss it in the forums. Also, we have more like for basic things we post it on our blog. So, for example, the latest thing that I like, we analyze what happens with Tornado Cash hack in the May, because I was at a conference where in Amsterdam. It was conference about the privacy and all these things. So many people discussing Tornado Cash, and during this company, Tornado Cash governance was hacked, and we try to investigate and realize how it happens. And actually, it happens because of lack of audits, and that's why it's so important. So nobody audited the new proposal from DAO to change the smart contract code in Tornado Cash, and that's how the hacker can steal all the money in the treasuries.
I'm just astounded that a project as big as that would not have that kind of a basic control. It's just. Do you think developers are too sure of their own work if they are successful?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Partly it happens because the community didn't pay too much attention to what happens there, and some anonymous guy proposed some changes, and not too many people they just blindly vote, and that's what caused these errors. Even there was some auditors there, and they have some guides that we don't approve any proposals before it will get audited. I'm sure they can.
That's really another lesson for
Exactly.
Those of us who want to build DAOs and governance processes, about how carefully you have to plan those out. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it is our next article, and we want to discuss about this more, and also we want to offer our security audits, maybe even pro bono for some DAOs, like to make them just more secure, because it's really.
Thank you. That would be amazing. You said you started out back in the ICO boom of 2017. You've tried your hands at a few things. Why was it smart contract audits that you ended up in? You've said that you find it interesting, you really enjoy the research, but at the beginning, before you knew about auditing, why did you choose to go into this space?
So before blockchain, I work mostly with the fintech stuff and with the information security, infosec things, and I help to banks to make their system more secure. And later, I just get bored of all these things, and that's why I realized I don't want to help the banks just to make this financial system more. It's nice to make it safer, but it's better just to bring more control to the people for their money, and that's why I just start to get involved into the blockchain infrastructure. So, and after I won maybe tens of hackathons and invent some nice small things. Yeah, I start to do something more valuable. And since I realized, and I really like to see what we can do and how can we improve some systems, I realized it's nice to do audits, because you can work with so many different kind of projects. You can go and dig into the technical details and also help them to make more secure. So I just enjoy all these how to say, process. So you can constantly research, improve your skills, your technical part, and also help to others. And you are not stick to the one project. That's why also I decide to just quit from ZK Sync and exit it, and just to be able to work with different projects and not just focus on one specific things all the time. And I really enjoy these things because you're always on the cutting edge, no matter what it's the bridges, oracles, layer 2 solutions, or privacy, or whatever.
That's amazing. That certainly sounds familiar. That's something I enjoy about more consulting or project-based kind of line of work, is that you have this variety, and it's a very different way of learning. I think your mind has to be very flexible to sort of see, okay, this is slightly different here. Whereas if you stay inside a company, you learn something else. You learn how to, really drive change and manage a particular process and get to know something specific very well. But it sounds to me like you're a person who's really intellectually curious. So that variety, I'm sure, is really stimulating. And it's also good to recognize in you something I see with a lot of people in the space, that a lot of us are very values driven. Where something about this space, about what it does, is a really important part of why we choose to work in the sector. So it's really cool to hear that you wanted to develop a tech that was going to help people or serve the interests of people better. So that's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, usually I'm like work as like ideologist or evangelist or this. I really like to adopt new people, like newcomers, crypto, and I always try to, if I can pay by crypto, I try to pay by crypto to everyone, even if they don't have a crypto wallet. I help them install the wallet and say, now you
Dude,
can use
I
the crypto.
feel embarrassed. Like if
This is
I
my
think
like.
back, I came from completely outside of this space. I didn't have anything to do with it. I remember my first engagement. I was so scared of wallets, of Uniswap, of everything. I didn't understand any of it, and I just was sending like, I don't know, 100 messages to my colleagues at the time who were helping me get started out. So yeah, it's a process that a lot of us have to step into for sure. So yeah, but the best way to do it is just to get in when there's no other option. I'm paying you in crypto. This is it. Now you have to start using the machine. So it's a great way to get stuck in.
That's right. Yeah, but to tell the truth, still like the UX is not super cool. Like if you just want to just send money, yeah, there's nothing. You don't have any issue with that. But still, you have to explain how to store your seed phrase. What is private key? What is public key? What is the seed phrase? And it's still so painful for many people. And nobody didn't solve all these issues. But when you come to like some more technical things, like work with multisig, so then even I start to struggle with this, or how can you trust to the bridges and which bridge is safe or not, or like with money exchange rates, what more or less is solvable. So there are so many P2P services, but it depends of the area in which country you are using it. But all in all, much better that you can just send money everywhere to anyone in the seconds and don't think about some commissions and banks and all these things. So in part, the experience with the crypto even better than with the banks.
Yeah, I agree that the UX is a really important thing to improve, and that it will probably always be a little bit like you said, that the stuff that's most closest to the edge is always going to need you to go a bit sort of like Neo in the Matrix and really get your chops in order to deal with it. But yeah, hopefully, no, not hopefully. I'm certain of it. It's a lot of these features are going to become delivered through apps, and people are not even going to know they're going to be using blockchains. But yeah, to keep an eye out for that. Back to audit processes, like could you talk us through the main steps of an audit process?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So we try to improve our like process. Well, we try to improve it all the time, and it depends of the how big the project is. For example, for LiDAR, it was super interesting and challenging because we have to involve all our team and they have to cross-check all the things because they are so big projects, and no one can just realize and check the whole system. So you have to split it by chunks and do some cross checks between parallel audit processes. So, but in general, when someone needs audit, what we do is like check the scope, and we have to realize what the technical stack they are using. So, like for example, it's Solidity or Viper. Do they have external dependencies from other smart contracts is these contracts are audited or not yet, and we have to audit them as well and take consideration that some vulnerabilities could be in external contracts as well. So later we find who from our auditors has the best technical background for this special case, because so we have like so different people like work with different protocols. Later we do some planning about how many people will we work. At least it should be 2 person who do just cross check, and but sometimes it could be more. It depends on the timing and how big its scope is. Later we just do some checks with the dev team. So we check if we ask them to code freeze, like freeze the code, just to don't do any changes, because if they just try to fix some issues that they have, we have to check again the whole scope. Sometimes just one single line can change the whole logic. So it's impossible. But for this, sometimes it happens. It happens quite often, and that's why now we start to offer like code review, not the audits, but also code review, when we can just work together with the teams, and we don't have like restrictions that they have to freeze code freeze, and later we can just do and it will be much faster.
That's one of the questions that I had coming up. Could you explain a little bit more about this difference between review and audit, and how they work together, like you were just saying?
Oh yes, this is a really good question, and we also try to explain it. It's hard to explain in easy words. So code review mostly is when we check the quality of the code, the architecture, how good it is. But we are not focusing on like every potential critical hacks that could happen in this code. We just check that specification and synchronized with the code, and it works as it should be, as is expected. And we can recommend. Sometimes we can find the bugs and during this code review process, but mostly we just check the quality of the code. And the audit is different things. In audit, we usually, unless like the developers not ask us about suggestions how to improve code, and mostly they not, we have to accept the quality of code as is, and we focusing only on the potential vulnerabilities. Like we work as hackers, not like professional developers, as hackers, and we try to hack the protocol, break it, like cause the denial of service or steal the money. Like, of course, potentially we explain how it potentially could be, and provide this explanation. And we don't say, hey, it's better to like move this function in other like smart contract and so on and so on. Sometimes we do it, but in terms of gas optimization, we say, hey, if you do this, you can save the gas. This is also part of audit, but also this is a very interconnected part. It's also part of the code review. We can say, hey, this is function is not efficient. You can skip these checks because it's already assumed as it should be, or here you have to add additional checks because it's potentially cause the hack if something happens later. But we, of course, code review, we can do it much faster, like 2 times faster. When we do audits, we have to check every single line and all the interconnection on every single line with other part of code. And we don't do so deep technical analyze.
No, I think you've explained it really well. And I heard someone on a podcast. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, just want to add, like, but I think it's really good practice, and usually people have to do code review because it helps them to to save money on audits later, because if you provide more good code quality on audits, for auditors it's much easier to do their work correctly. And if we get like so bad code quality on audit, we just provide the huge audit report, and in the end of this audit report we will say we are not recommend to publish this code live. And they have to just do all their work again, rewrite all the code, and order another audit that will cost the same amount. And if you do a good code review, so most probably you will skip this part and can just go live faster.
So this is all of that's really clear, and it's actually familiar from the work I used to do as a financial analyst, where we were trained in the quality of the way we built calculations. We had to follow certain design patterns, as it were, that were optimized for audit, because at a certain point in time, someone else would take over and check all of our work. And if we had followed good design patterns, it would make their job much easier. It would cost less money. It would all go faster. So this is from the world of accounting and financial modeling, and it sounds very similar to what you're talking about. And I was just going to say there, like in another podcast, someone was saying that the code auditor needs to be at least twice as smart as the developer they're reviewing. So it sounds like you're well equipped, but turn that around, and we need. It sounds like we need to increase standards if you're having to hold people's hands so much. Is it something we're never going to escape from? That this is we've opened this door, everybody can take part. So there's kind of at the low level, there's no control on the quality of smart contracts coming in. Is that just where we're at?
Sorry, like what the question?
I don't know. Is the quality of smart contract development going to improve at a low level? Is there anything we can do to make sure that you don't need so much effort to lift up the quality of the code before you're able to test it?
Yeah, so it's matter of it's question about. It depends on the project. Some of the projects can just want to go live if they're not so much cost. The question is that what the cost of the error, the potential bugs that's in the project. Sometimes it's much better just to release faster and check everything live. If you don't care a lot about the hacks. And we can see like so many projects and like founders of the projects that get hacked just release another one. And what I'm quite surprised how they do this, and nobody even doesn't care like the previous projects get hacked. But I will not tell the name, but there's so many cases when people just ignore these things. Probably it's like also part of the business. Of course, as auditor, I think that every single contract that goes live, you have to take responsibility and do the high quality audits. But here is a problem also, like people sometimes just they need a badge that smart contracts get audited. That's why sometimes they just go to the most popular auditors company like Certic, and about the quality of the Certic you can find.
I've seen one that's failed for sure. That they gave a green light on and then got hacked. So
not the one.
I don't know.
The percentage of the smart contracts after Certic that got hacked, like I think much better than from other like small top tier auditor companies. And for example, nobody gets hacked after our audits. Like we proud of that, even like the huge projects and so many, we still have like perfect reputation now. Of course, there is no guarantees that it happens, but now we proud that even after audits of other companies, we still find some critical and major bugs after top quality auditors work. Even like the last one, we can't disclose it yet, but one of the huge stablecoin projects get out at least 3 good audits 2 years ago, and we found on the project that's already live the problem, the major, they accepted. I think they already fixed it, but we agreed that we will not announce it yet, just to don't.
Congratulations! Thank goodness for white hat hackers. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks to my team, and they are doing great work. And how we found it, because we audited another project that was fork from this stablecoin, and we found this issue in that fork. And also we found that original project has the same issue, and nobody from auditor, like, for 2 years, nobody found it.
You know, there's a concept when you get auditors in finance, the legalese says something, you know, commits them to a best effort and to do everything that, you know, a trained professional would be able to bring to the work. And they're not. I think if there's still a problem at some point, as long as it wasn't arising from negligence of some kind, you know, the law doesn't hold that against them. But precisely because of this problem, like Lido, did they get 9 auditors on board? Was it a total of 9? And
Yeah,
I think, I mean, it doesn't. The exact number doesn't matter, but where does this leave smaller projects who maybe can only afford one auditor? How do we, you know, what do we do?
yeah. So mostly, like, usually, like, one audit is not enough. Like, the general recommendation, like, just take at least 2 audits, so it will get you at least some kind of guarantee. Of course, if you are really limited in budget, you can do 1 audit. It's much better than nothing. If you like early stage startup, you can just do code review and try to go for the next round and try with a small amount of money to run your project. But usually, if people just don't do anything, it's very rare when people get success story without audits at all.
What do you think about code hawks? This is God. I didn't take down his name, but there's a very charismatic influencer in the smart contract audit space. It seems like he's the only one, and he's huge. And he's got this. He started this group called Code Hawks, which are creating audit contests. So they'll sort of like say, this is a project, and everybody can submit, and then there's some judges at the top who, you know, check the quality of everybody's submission, and then they sort of crowdsource the auditing. And you know, the people who spot flaws get some share of the contribution. What do you think about this model? What are your thoughts about it?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's quite interesting. That what I see. It's like it's really trendy things now. So many other projects, like, and also auditor companies and just individuals start to do similar projects like crowdsourced audits. So I think it's nice thing. It's something in between, like between bug bounty and professional auditors team. And yeah, this is also like trade-off. If you don't have enough money to pay for a dedicated auditors team, so you can do this. But it matter of like the quality. Like nobody guarantee anything. When people come to our audits, we guarantee that our auditors will just dig into every single line, and they check all the documentation and realize everything. And we will get like we'll provide some report about everything. When you go for crowdsourced audits, people just randomly try to pitch single lines and try to find the potential things. Like, but it's more like a scanning, but not the deep scan of the whole infrastructure. So of course it's much less probability that they will find some complex bugs, but it's better than nothing for sure. And it's nice that they provide this opportunity for hackers to do their work, like white hackers, and some small projects to provide at least some basic security standards in their projects.
Thank you for that. It sounded like I had some of the same ideas as you about the positives, but I hadn't thought about those negatives. And you just don't know if people are truly taking a systematic approach. And I guess there is a quality cost that comes in the way it's arranged at the moment. So thanks for shedding light on that. Here's another one. Like, I have some questions about sort of like the scope of these audits, because like, is there? I don't know enough about the security issues. So I had this question: is it possible that a smart contract in itself is safe, but that vulnerabilities emerge from its composability and other smart contracts? And if that's true, where do you draw the circle? Is this a real problem, or is it just a theory thing in my head? What do you have to say about this issue and how we grapple with it?
Good question. So this is a real problem, and you can solve this by do additional checks in your smart contract. You can like highlight in your scope which part of the code work with the external models, and you just need to put as much more attention there and check like what and be ready to whatever the contract do, and handle this logic correctly. Because most of the issues, if you just assume that they will work as you expect and they work in different way, that's how all the problems happens. Like, for example, the most common things is like with ERC20 tokens, and there are some methods like that's why safe ERC20 protocol was like on top of ERC20 was invented, because like there was one return function that just returned 0 instead of void, and because of it, so many protocols start to work incorrectly, and you have to check all these things. And then you can just, if you just check all the things in your scope and be sure that nobody can do some, can provide you some malicious code and do some injection, then you're safe. And then it just depends of the like surface of these attacks, how many entry points to your scope you have from external contracts and how many actions you allow them to do. One thing, if you just allow, is better if you just make like very narrow scope that what external contracts can do, and like just very limit them in their abilities, what they can do. But sometimes when people try to build like generalized protocols and build their own models, for example, if there is like protocol when you can just implement and then load any kind of smart contract and make it like part of the ecosystem, then you have a lot of problems, because they can just put whatever they want, and they start to interact with each other, and they can corrupt the whole system. Yeah, we have a lot of these issues, and when people just try to make something super generic, like that cover all the needs of the users, then we have a problem. But if you just run and solve one simple specific problem, then you are safe. It's much easier to audit and protect it from some unexpected behaviors.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of a general principle is to make things as specific as possible and not as general and open-ended as possible.
Exactly.
And thinking about the scoping issue,
Exactly.
but from a different angle, I started this channel. My specialism is in tokenomics. I believe that this is a solvable problem, not just marketing. That there's a real science to be uncovered about what makes these economic systems useful, sustainable. But there's a lot of work to really sort of begin to pin that down. But if you think about it, audits are a security against a specific kind of economic event, an exploit that allows value to be drained from the system or from people's sort of expected control or ownership. And so that's an economic event. And, at some point, maybe you come to think that an audit should include some sort of like a review of the design of the economy to make sure that this is also secure, that there are no exploits in the way the economy is designed. Do you have any thoughts about that, or is that too far away? Should that be a separate thing? What do you think?
I think it's too far away, and like the separate things. Mm, how to say? Sometimes we try to provide the support for our clients after their release, and help them with deployment and ongoing like investigation of some issues, or helping to do. But this is really like it's like separate thing. That's
Do you ever have to talk to the tokenomics person when you work on a project? Is there ever a case where the developers don't understand the economic logic that they're trying to reproduce, or are they generally is the dialogue only between you and them, and they have a really good command of how everything's supposed to work?
So I try to pick the teams with whom we work with, only with the professionals who know what they are doing. And usually, if I realize like they are not understanding what they are doing, I prefer to not work with them at all. So in this case, like when I work, looks like they're mostly know what they do.
Yeah, you have to. That's another side of the risk. If you're working as a contractor, you have to pick your clients. There are a lot of people who want to work with you, and it's not always a good idea for us to work with them. So I hear you there. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, I can see that from other side. Sometimes we'll help with these things, not for projects, like we don't do like economics calculations for the projects, but sometimes when some VCs without like strong technical background, sometimes some of the VCs that have very good economical background, and they want to invest into Web3, and then they come to us and ask some ideas about the project, and ask us to for like do due diligence of the projects, and they just ask us for give some analyze, like, and from technical and economical perspective, then it's really interacted with each other, and then we just do some basic explanation of the tokenomics. But mostly like VCs, they know this part better than us, so we are focusing mostly on the technical part of analyzation.
Understood. Okay, so this loops back to something we were saying earlier about how you use reviews to lift up the quality, and that then makes the audit easier. Isn't some of this improvement? Wouldn't there be some improvement possible if we were able to standardize smart contract modules a bit more? Is there any scope to do that, or is the design of every project just so unique that there's no low hanging fruit to that kind of standardization? What do you think?
Standardization of audit.
Not the
So
audits, a standardization of smart
some
contract modules. Are there any sort of like tasks or procedures that recur often enough that they could be standardized in a smart contract, and then that's secure, and you could order. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. In this case, of course, there's a lot of guides, like, and good practices how to build good and clean architecture in general in, like, code design, and especially for solidity. And that's why, like, I think when you the basics is like interfaces like ERC20, ERC721. Most of the time, you don't have to implement any other uh, um, tokens. Sometimes people like to invent some extra additional things to these interfaces. Most of the time, you don't need to do this. If we're talking about more complex things like um, pools, dexes, or bridges, there are so many unique cases, and you just can't standardize them all. It really depends uh, of the some way, but there is some assumptions. You have to make it truly decentralized. Like, don't store, like, don't allow anyone to just steal your private key and steal the
Yeah.
money. What happens with, like, any swap breach recently? So most of the time, you should rely on, like, on a multi-sig, or even like make it unstoppable, like, or just pausable but not unstoppable, like what happens with balancer recently. They don't have by design any way to pause their pools, and that's why they have to work with this issue when they found that there is a bug, and they want to uh, warn the users that they have to withdraw the money from the pools, but they don't know how to say who are affected. But when they say that, they also give a hint for hackers where to
Yeah.
find the bug, and that's what the hackers did after, when they make announcement like these pools affected. Then hackers already know where to see it. Just later they just got caught. Probably if they just realize some other security issues, they can pause, for example, this. They can avoid this hack. But yeah, there is some basic things, but I think they are not standardized. And that's what also auditors can help when we do audits. We say where the potential issues in architecture could possibly be.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. And are you aware of any trends from emerging from regulation? Is regulation just so far away? If I think about the financial industry, ratings agencies and accounting firms that provide accounts for public companies, this is a highly, highly, highly regulated industry. And I think if blockchain is going to go mainstream, I think we're going to end up in that kind of relationship as well. Are you seeing anything, or are the regulators just so far away with what they're dealing with at the moment that they haven't even gotten to the audit issue? Tell me.
Yes, so sadly, yes, I have to encounter this, and I see there with the time regulations just get more strict and more strict than before, and it's really hard to resist. I think the most uh, important case is with Carnatic hash, like when regulators start to regulate the smart contracts and try to
Yeah.
get
No,
jailed
I didn't
the
like that at all.
developers. Yes. Yeah, and I know Alexei Pertsov very well, and he is struggling a lot and sit in the jail for half a year without any reason. Luckily, now he just he's still under consideration of the what the court says, but he can just spend the time with the family. Uh, that's a good point, and I hope like regulators just don't go this line, and because when people start to struggling where they just do open source coding, that's something not acceptable. And yeah, I see everything that comes to privacy, and like we're talking about the private pools like Sarnada or like the Monero or the cash blockchains. It's like there are so many restrictions. Luckily, they are not banned them, and I hope they will find some regulations. But at the same time, I see that so many dexes and not dexes like centralized exchange, they just remove these kind of blockchains from and their tokens from the trading, and it's also I think it's all because of these regulations. That's because they still don't want these problems, but at the same time they are make it's much harder for these projects to keep growing and keep going. So there are no privacy in the blockchain right now, and I don't know how
Okay.
to fix it.
Yeah. No, that's that one was always going to be a hard one to keep. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, we'll see if they.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like again, I can only think about things in terms of the experiences I have, but you know, and you have these professional standards in finance, like certain accounting standards, certain things, and anyway, maybe one day there'll be sort of like an accreditation for smart contract auditors as well. But yeah, it sounds. I think that's a very very long way away. Um, what about? I mean, I don't want to. We're quite far advanced, but are you able to say anything about how AI is changing your workflow and what you can do? If that's not like a whole other hour of
Oh, that's
conversation, just I don't know. Is there anything you could sort of share about that?
yeah, but still, yeah, this actual actually real like thing that nice. I of course I thought about the I have thoughts about this. So what I can see, AI really actually with AI, our users get
Oh.
much more work than before, because and I don't afraid that they will substitute the auditors. What the AI can do very well, they can help to write the code for someone who can't write the code without AI. They can improve the code and make like some junior Solidity developers like write the code as like middle plus Solidity developers. Yeah, that's true, and this is really cool. And that's why I think we will see like so many new projects that will come, because like most of the time there is a problem with the lack of developers, and now it's much easier to write these things. But when we come to audits, AI, at least for current stage, and I don't think they can solve this. They can do audits. They can find um, some basic issues, but much worse even than just crowdsourced audits.
Wow.
When you try and to do it, and our colleges like partners like from mixed bias auditors, they did a lot of research about this. So it gets so many false positive uh, assumption, and for us just to check all these assumptions, it's much more time than just do our personal research. and that's why it doesn't work like this. So many false positive and no guarantees, and most probably it will not find some really critical and hard bug. From technical parties, because of the lack of context, it's hard for AI get all context in in their mind, let's say, in the memory, and complexity from the amount of context that I should. There is a quadratic complexity. So, like to improve 2 times context that it can handle, you need improve quality of this model, complexity of this model 4 times. So it will not go that fast that it can cover some things. Yeah, AI very good in terms of like invention, like some creative things, but with deep analytical research, still it can't compare with the top quality auditors. So, but as I said, it's nice because I think now it's much easier to just go from the idea to concept for many people. Then they need also like help of top quality.
I've only just started working
people
with it
to make
to learn some new coding languages myself, and I was just amazed at how I was able to dialogue and look for a bug, and we got it on the third go, because there were two things. I was surprised that first of all it suggested something that I'd already thought about, and then it wasn't there, and then we found it. So, like I was really amazed. It was my first sort of direct experience working with it.
Yeah, and I can say it's creative and like just improve code quality. Sometimes I see, wow, this code is really bad, and I'm too lazy just to refactor this. And sometimes I just put this chunk to the ChatGPT, for example, and say, hey, can you improve this? And of course, I as a like professional developer, I improve and I give him like direct instructions what I want to change in this code, and then it just do it perfectly and super fast and easy, and it get me like perfect code from them in terms of logic. Most of the time, in like 90%, I don't even need to just change some things in this code. But it's only works in like small chunks. Sometimes when I try to give like big part and say let's improve and this feature, then a lot of issues happens and it just lose the context, and it can try to implement something but forgot about the whole things around. So actually that's what usually auditors do. They have to remember about all the contexts.
That makes sense, and all the dependencies and so on. Yeah, valuable. Okay, we're just about to wrap up. Couple of questions to finish up. What tips do you have for somebody who wants to start working as a smart contract auditor? What would you recommend they do?
Yeah, first I want to say that it's you have to realize, are you auditor or developer? Both of them are works with the code, but there are super different qualities of the person who can be good developer and good auditor, and sometimes they are even opposite. Like usually auditors write the code very slow, and they are not very productive as developers because they have to put so much attention to every single line. And opposite, like developers, they can just do work. They have feature, they have to implement it, but and they do it very well. But when they have to audit something, they can skip because they just go too quickly through all the code. And it's more about the personal qualities than what you have to answer. Like, are you what kind of type you are? And if you are like the first type who are really want to dig into every, because it's really boring. So for many people, it's super boring just to look at the same amount of code, come back again and again and again. But if you like this kind of things, then yeah, I think the perfect thing is just to try to see some. And there are so many smart contract auditors guides, and they explain very well the basics and what kind of security vulnerabilities you have to detect. And then you can just go and I think with the new crowdsourcing things, I think the best thing is just go and try to find something there. Yeah, I think this is one of the best. Or just come to maybe for as intern to
Oh, well,
some
that's.
company.
Are you hiring? Are you taking on
Like,
interns?
mostly we're hiring just experts, and if I will find some good interns that I found they are very promising, so we can also discuss it. What we sometimes we do, we just give um, the same scope to interns as to our auditors, and they are do it
Mhm.
in parallel, and then we compare, and we teach they do it for for free, but we spend our time to explain them what they miss and how to find these bugs. And if they find something that we miss, it happens really rare and maybe some minor things. But if we will find that he brings some value to our company, we also pay to
Okay.
these interns. We have this kind of program. Yes. So we allow them to provide uh, us some value and earn the money, and also in back we
It
teach
sounds
them.
like
And
they are getting the better deal. If I'm honest with you, it takes a lot of time. It takes it takes a lot of time to sit with someone and be patient and generous. It's a thing. But I'm really happy you're yeah, training, giving people that opportunity. It's because I remember when I got started out, like whenever the senior person came and looked over what my work, it was you learn a lot more quickly that way. And that's again one of the things that ChatGPT sort of like helps you with, right? You don't need the senior person next to you all the time. At least when you're creating code, maybe not when you're
yeah,
debugging it,
and I think it's
but yeah, or looking for vulnerabilities.
yes, and it's fair, and it's kind of
Yeah,
gamifications as well, right? So it's nice when they can try to compete with the others, and that's cool. And you're not just doing it for free; you can just want some prize who will, for some reason,
yeah,
will
that's
some.
something in your.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's nice. And also,
No, something there's something in your story that
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
no.
is worth bringing out again, is that you took part in hackathons, you met people, you networked with people, you formed friendships, and that sort of I think hackathons are a really good space
Oh yeah,
to get connected and to begin to
yeah.
see
Well,
what this work
nice
is really
catch.
like.
Exactly. That will be my recommendation. Just go to hackathons. It's better just like offline hackathons, not online. So can person try to hack something, to join some team or invent something and do just build and try to build and make some networking with the other people in this industry. I think this is the best investment that like newcomers can do for their own. Yeah,
Awesome,
you're
awesome
right.
stuff, man. Well, that's the list of our questions, man.
Excellent.
It's been amazing chatting to you. Like, you got a really relaxed vibe, but I know that you get in there and you won't let anything else get away. So yeah, it's been a pleasure sort of talking to you and hearing more and learning for myself about this industry and what you guys are up to. I'm really grateful for your time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Same with me. I really enjoyed to talk with you. You ask so many valuable and interesting questions. Yeah, I was happy to discuss all these things. And just in the end, like I want to say thank you for like to make these uh conversations. It's really cool thing. And keep in touch. And yeah, if you or some of your like subscribers needs
Of
audit, you're
course,
welcome.
Oxorio.
Of
We're
your
gonna put it up there. Yeah.
subscribers, you
No
will get.
question, man. Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you.